Hi, everybody. Welcome to another brand new episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am your host, Matt, a.k.a. Storm McGinnon. Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to remind you, if there is a guest you'd love to hear me interview right here on this very program, you can email me at mr.matt.storm@gmail.com or shoot me a message on Twitter or tag me on Twitter. I'm always interested in finding new, incredible creators, actors, artists, really of any kind, just interesting people to chat with. And if you have ideas or suggestions, you can feel free to shoot me a message, or you can join our Discord server for certainpov.com. There is a permanent invite link to the Discord server, and we do have a guest suggestion channel on the Discord, and you can put them there as well. Also, we'd love to have you just come and chat with us in the Discord. We have a really great community there, and we would love to have you be a part of it. But enough about that. Let's jump into this week's episode with the king of Geek Elite Media himself, the incredible Mitch Punpayuk. He is an incredible, delightful, and kind and sweet dude. We've become friends over the last few years via the Let's Rewatch crew and Case Aiken. And he is probably one of the hardest working humans I know in podcasting. He hosts so many shows. Geek Elite Media puts out so much great content. We consider them to be family as far as podcasting goes. We've done crossovers with their site for Cyberpunk Week and other things. And Mitch is just an awesome human. I love talking to him about how the website started, how he got started in podcasting, and then just geeking out over the various things that we both love. So without further ado, here's my incredible interview with the wonderful and very handsome Mitch Punpayuk. Cool. Yeah, I mean, this is not too dissimilar from Hey Mitch. It's just an interview show, and so it's just role reversal. But beyond that, although feel free to ask me questions if you want. I mean, I'm not against it. I just, if that happens, I do that a lot. Like, I'll be on someone else's show, and I'll start to ask questions and start to take lead and go, whoop, nope, not my show. Gotta let someone else do it. Gotta let go of power a little bit.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little tough. I'm really excited to be chatting with you, loyal listeners. I'm chatting with the incredible Mitch Punpayuk, the incredible mastermind behind Geek Elite Media. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I'm really happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm happy to be here, and I just wanted to say, like, I don't know how well this is going to go. You already had, you already have yourself, and you already have Case on, and like I feel like I'm kind of just so similar to the both of you, like in so many ways. Just listening to the two of you do all the different podcasts, it's just I'm like, kindred.
oh hell yeah! I've felt that since the early days, Mitch, since we first met, and like, so I mean. I will say, though, you're one of the few people who makes me feel like I don't do enough just with all of the podcasts that Geek Elite puts out and that you're on specifically. I've lost track at this point. I just assume you're on everything that they put out until I hear otherwise.
I mean, I finally made it so that I had other people making stuff without me. But yes, I'm still on a good like half dozen shows. So.
Let's start by chatting a little bit about Geek Elite Media, which is your incredible website. It has articles, it has podcasts. It's not too dissimilar from Certain POV. But talk a little bit about how it came to be. Did you create? I don't actually know the story or origins of Geek Elite. Did you create Geek Elite Media? Is it your brainchild?
It is. At first, it was a group of us, like as you do, living in a home together. We were like, well, why aren't we just like recording everything we talk about because we're that self-centered? And I was just like, yeah, okay, let's talk about this. And we started thinking about the structure. And just as it seemed like more the work came about of like what would that would entail, more people kind of just started eyes glazing over and walking away. But I was still into this, so. As I was working towards getting this up and running, another friend of mine who wasn't a part of that initial conversation was like, "Hey, I know you want to do a podcast. There's all these TV shows now about superheroes, like all the CW and Walking Dead, and all this stuff based off of comic books. I want to do a show about that." So that was our first show, Televised Heroics, was Daniel and myself just getting on there and talking about that. And from there, everybody was like, well, yeah, let's just do a show. So I was there at the beginning. there was, I had a good friend structure of people that wanted to do stuff, but not really get too involved, which is understandable. Like
totally.
it takes so much time. And nobody has that kind of time really. Like everybody's got a life. So, and I'm not upset about it, but like I still wanted to do this thing. So, that's where it all started in 2015.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So 6 years now.
Yeah.
You've been doing this.
Yep.
And I'm sure it feels like it's been a decade or more just because of 2020 alone.
Just 2020 alone. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I love all of the stuff that y'all put out. And like, there really is a kindred spirit between me, you, and Case. And I think the greater of both networks. It's why I think we all get along so well and we've all guested on each other's shows. I think we have a similar mentality as far as the work itself is satisfying. Like, sure, do we want our podcast to become gigantic and break out of the indie space or whatever? Sure, of course. We all want that. Someone wants to buy me out for, $1 million. I'm sold. Done. I'll sell out right away. Let's go. But like, the reality is, I think, at least for me, like I get such satisfaction from making the podcasts, editing the podcasts, the promotion, all of that stuff. Like sometimes it's daunting, but for the most part, I love doing it. Did you always want to be in broadcasting? Because I know for me, like I was fascinated by like radio DJs and that kind of thing. And it was only until much later that I came back around to do it myself. But have you always wanted to be a broadcaster of some kind?
The funny thing is no. I mean, I always wanted to. Always had this idea of working in Hollywood, like kind of thing. Like I always wanted to write something or never really act, but I wanted to be behind the scenes. I knew that. So when I moved back to my hometown after college, I got a job at the local TV station. It was a news affiliate, so it's not like we were putting on any or helping make any TV shows or anything. It was just local news. Right. But I got in there as an engineer, so I was what's called master control. I don't know if too many people understand what that is, but essentially everything you see on TV has to go through the system to get to the signal to then beam to your house. And my job was to make sure that the commercials and the TV shows and all that stuff was spliced together so that it could get through that machine to your home. But as I moved up in the engineering department, like I still was watching movies because that's movies is my thing. Like I've loved movies since being a toddler. And I went up to the news director after working there for 3 years. And I said, hey, I go and see every movie every weekend, in the movie theater. Do you want a movie review section for the news? And they're like, sure, if you can do like 2 minutes on Sunday night where they assume nobody would be watching, we'll give that to you. I was like, all right, cool. So I went and I watched the movies, wrote up my review, produced the whole thing, shot it, edited it, and then gave it to the newscast for that Sunday night. And it became like one of the most popular segments of the local news. Now it's a local news. I'm not trying to gild the lily too much, but I felt like I needed to give myself some props. But it was great. It was great to see that and getting the response from people. Like, I mean, most of the time, just like anything you do on the internet, someone's gonna be like, well, you're terrible at it, so why should I be? But that was it was responses. It was people talking to me, and like they would email me like, I don't know why you like that movie. How could you give it such a good grade? And I would just email them back like, let's talk about it. Usually after that, I didn't get any responses, but that's when I started. I was like, okay, broadcasting. Like I think I could do this, and and that's what eventually moved me into doing the Geek Elite.
I love that. Like I worked at my local cable access also. I think I interned there in Staten Island in New York for, I don't know, a summer. And like I was so fascinated by how the pieces moved.
Right.
None of it was of any quality, but I was still fascinated by it. And to think that I'm doing anything even anywhere adjacent to it now is kind of astonishing to me. And that it's mostly, I'm mostly self-made. Like I've had help, of course, from tons and tons of folks. I wouldn't have half of the reach that I have without the help of certain POV, and especially Case, who is like, who makes the artwork for all my shows and has been a big supporter of all the work that I do. But like, it just is wild to me that this is, a job like, I'm sure like me, if you make any money from it, it's not a hell of a lot,
No.
but we treat it like a job because we want it to be a job, and maybe someday it will be a full-time thing. But like, it's just really cool that also we can make something of quality with very low cost and a lot of work, but it's way more accessible now than even when I first started. When I first started doing my music show, that's now since gone on hiatus, I was recording into an iPad when I first started. We would just hit the memo recorder and 3 people would talk into an iPad. Those episodes were unlistenable. But, it was something. We started.
Hey, you started. You got it out there. That's the important part.
And like, I don't know about you, but I feel like that's the biggest hurdle, right? Is if you want to do something, it's just doing it. And while, yes, I would tell any new podcaster now, bank a lot of episodes, fine tune, and then release. The ultimate thing to get you to make more of a thing is to make the thing, to do the thing. Do you feel like you get more steam from just diving in head first, or do you need to do like a lot of prep if you're going to launch a new show or work on a new project?
No, you know what? If I do feel like just diving in head first works the best for me. Like it's like, oh, we have that idea. Let's start going. Let's see what happens as it rolls. And if I sit there and think about it too much or try to plan too much, I will throw every block and barricade in my way to not get it done. So, yeah, if I have an idea, like, I just need to start working on it right then. Does that help with all the other ideas that I've already started? No, but
no.
it's I guess that's just the way that I work.
I mean, the laundry list, I'm sure for you it's the same. The laundry list of unlaunched projects that exist in my brain is endless. It's the creator's nightmare. It's this idea of like, oh, I could work on these 3 other projects that are in the middle of whatever, or I could work on a brand new thing because I had a brand new idea. It's just kind of how that goes, I feel like. And it's funny, I knew you were a movie nerd long before we ever even spoke because I knew you through the lore of the Let's Rewatch podcast, and you were replying to literally every tweet. In the early days, I would try and get in to answer what movie it was, and you were always there first. Mitch, right there with the answer. Are there any that you ever miss? Like, are you ever wrong when you reply to those?
Oh, yeah, no, I you know what? There's definitely a few that I reply and I'm like, oh, that looks so familiar, and I put something in there and they're like, nope, not this time. I'm like, oh, okay, I won't do it. But I don't know if they threw some type of filter or something on there, because like I don't get them to like an hour later now, like for whatever reason. So I see you responding and I see other people responding. And I'm like, wait, was it thrown out? I didn't even see it yet. But yeah,
Brett out here secretly hiding them from you so other people can get a crack at it.
That's fair. That's understandable. No, that was the greatest thing too. I don't know if I told you that story before, but that was when so getting to know them, Let's Rewatch. Which is that I honestly, like, outside of making the podcast themselves, all the great people that I've got to meet and just connect with, as well as yourself, just through this one community, this one thing is probably the best. But I started following a podcast, another movie podcast, just because I was like into their content, and they added me, or at least Geek Elite, into a movie podcast Twitter group. And then because of that, like, I got to see all these other podcasts, and I really attached myself to Let's Rewatch because I thought that was such a fascinating idea. Like, what
Me
is
too.
10 years later? Are these movies good? Like, because I'm a kind of person that, like, if I like a movie, I will watch it like once a year, whatever it is.
Sure.
But to hear other people, and then the fact that they were, a good. All 4 of them, I think, in the beginning were all at some point involved in making movies. So they had insider knowledge or insider like know-how of how movies are made. And that's what fascinated me. So it was such a great podcast. And now, Brett and Sam are going to be coming to my wedding. So like, this is awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny. Like, Ash was my previous guest before you, and we were talking about that show and just how there are like bingo cards for the show. Like, if they're watching anything to do with animation, Sam's going to have a story or know somebody or know someone who worked on something. If it's a more artsy movie, there'll be comments from Ash about the cinematography or how it looks. Brett will probably complain about something. There's a bingo card, but it's because they gel so well. You feel like you're at the table with them.
Oh yeah,
that's why even guesting on the show after having listened for as long as I did, I felt like part of the team immediately, because they immediately welcome you to the show and they let you run with your thoughts. Like, they're not there to kind of like hamstring you and make it about themselves. You're part of the show when you sit in with them, and I love that too.
Yeah, no, their show, for the four of them, and I would say it's because of their long relationship that it works so well. But it's to me, it's great to listen to. And then being able to go on the show just is that extra bit.
For sure. Totally. I want to talk a little bit about your writing and the writers on Geek Elite, because they also do some incredible work. Like, I was reading Joseph's recent article on E3. I know y'all are gamers over there as well. What is important to you about continuing to have writing? Because I know a lot of sites have shifted more towards audio and video and don't have as many written articles. Why do you feel like having written articles is still so important?
So, I think that, don't get me wrong, getting video onto our website and getting audio, like voiceover or whatever, that's definitely something we want to do more of. But just because of the way that everybody seems to be working, with their day jobs and then having to do this on the side, if they can sit down and write something for 15 minutes while they're in the middle of doing something else, or write something while they're on their lunch break or something like that, that's just the way that I feel it's going to work best for us, because none of us live in the same place anymore. Like, we're all scattered across the country, and it's, to me, it just works the best. Like, is it the best for us as a group? I don't know, but it works the best for us as working, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. No, I get that. I think also, I like reading articles. I don't always have time, but I still really like reading articles. And I think that, I'm not getting any physical magazines or newspapers anymore. It's just not a thing that I get, because I feel like they'll just sit there and pile up and I'll never get to them. But there's something about reading the article on my phone. Look, we've all got downtime in the bathroom reading articles. Don't lie. Nobody deny that. Everyone's doing it. And I think it's still really great that there are outlets like yourself and many others still doing written articles beyond just, I think having the audio and the video, of course, is super important, especially for those who, especially the audio for those who can't read, either due to vision issues or whatever else. But I think having written articles and written websites and blogs in the blog world format is going to always be valuable, because you can kind of go to the places where your tastes are more in line, like a Geek Elite Media.
Yeah, no, and yeah, of course, podcasts are great for, those people that are sitting at a computer all day and they need something to listen to. But if you're just needing to be in the quiet and you can sit there and read an article or get to know what it is that other people are finding interesting in that way, I'm here to support that and help out in any way. Now, it's not going to be a lot of game articles from me personally, because I don't play enough video games. I think the last thing I played was Portal 2, so that's a while ago.
That was a while ago. Yeah, that's true. But that's okay. You watch enough movies for the rest of us, so
there we go.
It's fine. It balances out. Let's talk a little bit more specific about the podcast that you make. So now I'm going to let you do the honors of telling the folks all of the podcasts you make. Because I want to highlight all of the different work you do. So how many shows are you actually making now?
So right now we have Issues, which is a comic book podcast where Keith and Josue talk about not just the two big companies, but a lot of indie books. Like they don't really do reviews, but they're sitting there discussing all the different stories that are going through there. They also do a Jukebox Vertigo show, which is a show where they get a guest and they pick a topic and they add to their infinite playlist of songs that have to do with that particular topic.
I love that.
Then we have Televised Heroics, which is I told you about earlier, is Daniel and myself talking about comic book TV shows. Imagine If is Chris and myself talking about comic book stories. And I think the greatest thing about that is that we go kind of I think is a unique way of you take a story from one company and see how you can make that same story in the other company using the characters that are available there. And then, we do a lot, whatever the character that is big in pop culture at that moment. If Wonder Woman comes out, you pick Cheetah and you talk about a story that's very much Cheetah associated kind of thing. Journey into Mystery is probably one of our newest shows. It's all MCU. So what we did first season in 2020 was Ian and myself went through and we watched the MCU in order and just talked about it and what it is that we expect is going to happen going further into the MCU. Well, when we didn't get any new MCU movies last year, we decided in season 2 what we were going to do was do all the Marvel movies that are not part of the MCU. So we went all the way back to the 60s to get the original Spider-Man made-for-TV movie.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but there is there's the scene with the samurai dressed up like security guards using kendo sticks, and we were like, this is blowing our mind. So that was great. VHS Gems is Jessica and John going back and watching movies that are 25 years old that they remember from their childhood to try and see if it still holds up. Not the same structure as Let's Rewatch, but definitely the same idea.
Yeah.
Then we got my interview show, Hey Mitch. We have a wedding podcast, which is Elizabeth and myself. Since we're getting married, we kind of want to chronicleize what it was moving up to that point. So exactly 1 year from the wedding, we started it, and we're going to go up to the wedding. Every week we have a different guest kind of coming in to talk about wedding traditions, whether or not they're married, what part of we're actually going to have Case and his fiance on to talk about their planning. Cool. And cause they're, I think they're getting married a month before I am. So we're about the same place. Then I have my traditional, movie review podcast with Richard. It's called, the Mitch and Rich Show. In the fall, we have a fantasy football podcast. Now that one seems to be very popular because it's 12 different people because they're all talking about fantasy football. They all have a team. They're all the managers of those teams, and they make bets. They do football news. They do all kinds of stuff that just gets people going for football, which if you're an NFL fan, it's definitely a fun show. And then Sunday is kind of our flagship show. It's called The Geeks Watch, where we tackle a different TV show that's popular at the moment. Right now, we're doing Loki because it's the popular show. It originally started off with the Game of Thrones. Like, it was a Game of Thrones show, but on the off season of Game of Thrones, what else were we going to watch? We found other things to watch.
Awesome. That's so much stuff. Holy hell. And you were on more than half of those shows, Mitch. More than half. Like, I produce 8 shows, but I only host 4. So, I think you've got me beat at this point.
But you make a better quality of product, so it's okay.
Please, that is absolutely not true, but I will take the compliment anyway. I think it's really cool. What I love about Geek Elite is that you got there's no barrier to entry. You guys are very welcoming. Every episode could be the first episode. Mm-hmm. None of it has this deep. I mean, none of it's narrative, right? But there's no deep legacy that you couldn't. I mean, I am a crazy person. When I listen to a new podcast, I have to go back to the beginning. I got to see what all the hubbub's about. But
I do the same thing.
Yeah, most people could just jump in and just listen to whatever, which I love. I am curious about the kinds of things that you are interested in as a podcaster. Because I find for me, it's changed a bit in the pandemic because like everyone else, I have no time to listen to podcasts because I'm not commuting. I'm not going anywhere, or I wasn't for a while at least. And so I wasn't listening to as much. But do you find yourself still listening to a lot of podcasts when you have the time? Do you have any favorite podcasts that you listen to besides Let's Rewatch, which we already both gushed over?
So, yes, I still listen to podcasts. I don't get to listen to it as much because even though I didn't have any teleworking or stay-at-home orders here in Arizona, I got promoted, so I have to stay in the office all the time now, and it's not my job used to be that I would go from one point to the other in a vehicle, and I could listen to podcasts all day long while I was in the car. But now when I'm in an office and I have to answer phones or deal with other employees and stuff like that, I don't really get time to. But when I do get a chance to, I like to listen to. Since I'm such a big movie nerd, I love to listen to movie podcasts. I listen to movie podcasts about either stuff that's coming up in the entertainment industry or movies, past movies, or even Fat Man Beyond, Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin, because as much as I love Kevin Smith, I really listen to that podcast for Mark Bernardin. Like I think he's an incredible writer, and the way that he sees story is the way that I want to see story. So when he is able to pick apart, and pick apart seems like a bad way of saying it, but the way that he's able to analyze a story of a movie or a TV show or something like that, like it makes me think and want to be a better writer.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I find that I tend to lean into more podcasts about the subject matter that I'm most interested in. Like I've come back around on video games. I've always loved video games, but like I'm playing more current stuff. I of course have 2 video game podcasts, which helps. But like I find myself listening to more video game podcasts now also because I care more about the news. I care more about what's the latest thing. And I feel like that ebbs and flows with me based on whatever hobby I'm into. Like when I first started getting back into tabletop years ago, I of course listening to a ton of tabletop podcasts. Do you find that there are other hobbies that you love that podcasts have helped shape or grow that love?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, I guess I don't, because everything else seems to fall to the wayside because of podcasts. So like
Sure.
I used to be an avid football watcher. Like I used to, playing in high school and then, eventually getting to, or just watching and stuff like that. Like I used to be very much into it, but now my Sundays are all about either recording or editing. So I don't get to watch it and enjoy it too much. I'm still a Niners fan, and I will stay a Niners fan, but I have to get all the highlights, like kind of thing. So and when I have free time, I want to watch something so that I can keep working instead of playing a video game. And that's why I haven't played a video game in so long. So I don't think it's really helped. Okay, reading comic books. Yeah. So if I'm listening to a podcast where someone's talking about the comic books that they're loving, I will go and find that trade. So that is the thing. That's the thing that's probably made me more because of podcasts is comic book reading.
That's fair. Yeah, and it's funny because I look at comic books the same way you look at video games. Like I love comics, and I have so many different omnibuses and a bunch of different trades. But like keeping up week to week, like I can't even imagine what that's like anymore. Like I used to have a box at the local comic shop like anybody else, and I don't. It's not the priority anymore, right? Like I'm putting that priority elsewhere. I think we all have time for whatever we want to have time for. It's a matter of deciding what we use that time for,
Oh yeah, exactly.
And I'm using that time a lot for editing podcasts. And then if I have downtime, I'm playing Mass Effect for the 30th time or something.
Speaking of, I wanted to ask you, so with
Yes.
E3 that came out or happened last week, what was the biggest thing that you enjoyed coming out of that?
So, I mean, there were a lot of really cool things, but I am one of the franchises that I love the most that seems to get the least amount of love lately is a series called Metroid. I've been playing the Metroid games since I was a kid. I loved every iteration of Metroid, although I never played the Metroid Prime series, which was the first-person one, but all of the side-scrolling Metroid games, like the classics, I've played and loved. And this past week, or I don't know, whatever time is anymore, when the Nintendo Direct happened, they made an announcement that they were finally making Metroid 5, the 5th Metroid side-scroller, Metroid Dread, which was a rumored game back in the 3DS era, and then apparently like production stopped, and then it was canned, or it was rumored to be canned, and then it came back, and they showed a trailer for it at E3, at their E3 press conference, and I got very excited. I've loved that series for a long time. Samus is one of my favorite characters, and it's really exciting to see a series that hasn't had a new game in 19 years get a brand new game by the same people who made the Samus Returns remake, which was a remake of the Game Boy game on the 3DS. That same team is working on that new game, and that got me really excited in a way. So excited, in fact, that I totally legally and not through ROMs downloaded digital versions of Metroid Zero Mission, which is a remake of the first Metroid game, and then Metroid Fusion, which is my favorite game, which came out on the Game Boy Advance, was Metroid 4. And I'm going to play through all of them. I played Zero Mission. Now I bought the 3DS remake, which I never got to play. And I'm playing that on the 3DS. Once I finish that, I might replay Super Metroid, but I played that last year on stream. And so I feel like that's recent enough that I could just jump to the fourth one, which is my favorite, and then be ready for the fifth one to come out this October too, which was really exciting. It's like, it's not only is it been in the works all this time that it's not dead. It's also coming out like 4 days before my birthday. And so I was like, hell yeah!
Happy birthday to Matt.
Exactly. Besides that, the other big surprise that I was really excited for was the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. I'm a sucker for comic book properties in video games, especially when they're done well. And I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love the comics. I love the movies. I love the cartoons that they've done. And so to hear that they're doing a game where you'll play as Star-Lord, it's single player, and like you have choices to make and you can affect the morale of the team, sounds really cool. And so I'm very excited about that one as well.
How did you feel? Because once again, like I'm hearing everything secondhand, but how did you feel about the fact that you could only play as Star-Lord?
I think that makes sense. Like, I have the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games.
Fair.
If I want to play as anybody, I think creating a single-player narrative where you get to use your teammate kind of... So it reminds me actually a lot of Mass Effect. In Mass Effect, you can only play as Commander Shepard in the first three games. But your cast of characters are great, and you give them commands, and you can utilize their abilities with shortcut commands. And, like, I got the similar vibe from the Guardians game. So, like... that also makes me excited because I saw similarities between one of my favorite game franchises of all time and this new game from Eidos Montreal. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, so this was the first year I covered E3. Jeff and I both were great. Were able to get passes to digital E3 for whatever that was worth. And we talk about the highs and lows of that. But it was. I get wrapped up in the hype a lot. Like, I want to be excited about video games. There's a lot of. This may come as a shock to you, Mitch, but there are people who are shitty on Twitter. I know, shocking.
What?
No. What? No way. And so, like, I just want to live in the excitement. And, like, yes, there are things worth criticizing. Like, everything that happened with Cyberpunk last year, of course, is worth criticizing, both from the problematic side and from the development side and all of that. But, like, a lot of people want to shit on other people's good time on Twitter, and I hate that. And, like, so for E3, I just want to revel in it. And if there's stuff I don't like, I'll talk about it, but I'm not going to crap on someone who enjoys those things. What's the point, right? Like, if they like games I don't like, so be it. You know?
Yeah, no, there's no reason to have to I don't know. I don't want to say curse words, but you said crap on anybody's parade, basically.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's why I also love the shows on your network, because for the most part, all criticism is constructive. You guys aren't just being shitty about a property or a thing you didn't like for the sake of it. And, like, it's why I gravitate to shows on our own network and Let's Rewatch, as we mentioned before, and a bunch of others, is like, I want constructive criticism. If things are problematic, if things need to be called out, I absolutely want that. But what I don't want is someone going, this is dumb and you're stupid for liking it. Like, that doesn't tell me anything. What's the point, right?
Exactly.
I want to have an articulate conversation about things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, isn't that more fun than just taking a shit on it? Like, it's the best, and that's the one thing I love about the community. Like, I can get on there, and yes, there are a lot of terrible people on Twitter that will just want to shut you down. But, and I heard you say this on one of your previous interviews, is like, if you can tailor your Twitter to the way that you want it, you don't have to see that. You don't have to see the terrible people. Like, I feel like I have mine to a way that I can, when I open it up, I'm going to be engaged with people that are willing to talk about the subject instead of just crap on it.
No, absolutely. And, like, people don't reply to me. I'm very lucky that I don't have a lot of reply guys in my Twitter feed, right? People who just want to reply to give you shit about something. You know, it happens once in a while. Can't control who's retweeting your tweets sometimes. And so it does happen from time to time. For the most part, though, I've curated a community where I can have, and people will call me out when I say something wrong or do something wrong. That's not the point I'm making. But like, people aren't there just to make you feel bad about existing, which is what happens a lot on Twitter. You know, I'm very lucky to be part of many communities where people just want to see everyone else succeed. And like a rising tide lifts all boats. Right?
Exactly.
Like I try and retweet as many creators as I can. I can't see everything, of course, but like, I don't even retweet them in hopes they'll retweet me. I retweet them because I believe in their content. And if I'm bringing it to my audience, I'm connecting them with like-minded folks who will enjoy the things they're making. Because at the end of the day, if my network of people who listen to the stuff that I make go over to your stuff, I know you're getting a great group of people. And I know it doesn't mean they'll stop listening to me. That's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
You know, people will make the time for the stuff they love.
One more thing I wanted to go back to. You talked about Metroid. Like, is that as fascinating to you? Because it doesn't, like you say, the last time they made a game was 19 years ago, right? But that first game was early 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah.
Like the staying power of that in like you don't have as many games as Mario or Zelda or these other games, but like, people know who or what Metroid is, or who Samus is, or Zero Suit Samus, like whatever however you want to look at it. But that game has had going on 40 years of staying power. Like that is amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is with the Metroid series because there's been less games, there's been less flops, right? Like
that's fair.
For example, like. They made the Metroid Prime series, which is, I think, a prequel series to the whole franchise. Like, it takes place earlier in Samus's career. It's a 3D first-person shooter. They got great reviews. I just never got to play them at the time. Hopefully, they'll get re-released on Switch like everything else, and then I'll play them. But, like, even with those games, there have still been less Metroid games per release year than any other of the franchises. So there are less misses. I think they take their time with these games. I mean, there are very few Zelda games I hate, but there are definitely some on the 3DS I didn't like, and a couple on the Game Boy Advance that I didn't like. And I can say the same for Mario. There are definitely Mario games that I haven't enjoyed, some more than others. Most of them were great. But I feel like with Metroid, every game that I've played, I've loved. Now, to be transparent, the original Metroid on Nintendo, I suck at. It's very hard, and I can't beat. But the remake they made of that same game, but built it out, I love. And I've loved every game since that first one. I loved the Game Boy game. I played the hell out of it. Loved the Super Nintendo game. And I loved the Game Boy Advance game. And so that's also an interesting thing about Metroid. Metroid, the proper series, the originals, not the remakes, have never gotten more than one game on the same console.
Oh.
Metroid was on Nintendo. Metroid 2 was on the Game Boy. Metroid 3 was Super Metroid on the Super NES. Metroid 4 was Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance. And now we're getting Metroid 5 on the Switch.
Wow.
And the only time there were two of the same game in that series is when they remade Metroid Zero Mission, which is a remake of the first game. That was also on the Game Boy Advance as well. And then we have the only 3DS Metroid game, which is a side-scrolling Metroid game, which is the remake of Samus Returns, which is also on a separate console from the others. It's had a very interesting life cycle. Now, of course, the 3D ones have had repeat games on multiple consoles over and over, and that's a different animal. But it's had the Metroid series above and beyond any other game series. It's had such an interesting lineage, and that's why I think the fans are so devoted to it.
Yeah.
And it's had its misses also. They made a Metroid Another M, which was made by Ninja Theory, which is a separate company, third-party company, and it was panned and people hated it. It was on the Wii. And so, like, even series with less entries have misses, but they definitely have less misses than any other franchise. And so that's why I think it has that staying power that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Look at you going and interviewing me again. What's the matter with you?
Hey, you fascinate me.
Oh, you're the sweetest. I do want to talk a little bit about movies because I know you're a diehard movie fan. You listen to a lot of podcasts about movies. You watch a lot of movies. Has there been any movies over the last few years, especially during the pandemic and knock on wood, post-pandemic, because we're still kind of
we're still definitely
eking our way through that, especially where you are in Arizona. We're not really following directions.
They really aren't.
Yeah, I only know my spouse is from Scottsdale, and so her parents have a place in Scottsdale. So, like, I know the goings-on in Arizona and how it's been difficult, let's say,
Yep.
to get people to get vaccinated and stuff. But I'm curious during this time if there's been any movies that you've really gotten closer to, either new movies that came out during the pandemic or older movies that you kind of revisited during the pandemic. You're like, oh, this is actually a really good movie.
Oh, I mean, to try and narrow it down is the hardest part. I mean, I feel like I still watched a lot of things, but I couldn't really tell you what it is that we watched. I know the last thing that I saw in the theaters that I really loved, and that was right before the pandemic, was 1917. Like, I thought that movie was incredible. Just the story itself was already great, but the gimmick of the made to look like a one shot like really sold me. And then there the fact that we were getting so many movies released on streaming, like I love to go to the theater, but I completely understand people wanting to watch movies at home. And then especially during the pandemic, we don't need to go out and be around other people. So a lot of the stuff that we saw come out that was original on Netflix or HBO Max or even Hulu. Hulu. Did you watch Palm Springs? Andy Samberg.
Yes.
Such a good movie. Like,
such a great movie.
That movie was probably one of my top 3 of 2020. Like, I loved everything about that. The idea that to come at a time loop movie from a different direction, like, just really sold me. So,
me too. Yeah, and like, I'm bummed that I didn't get to see that in theaters, though, because I totally would have paid the money to see that. And I hope it gets a second life later on, or gets maybe a short run in theaters after the pandemic, because it's just such it's a perfect comedy sci-fi movie, right? Like it like I would rank it up with like the original Ghostbusters and Evolution and these other, because it's not easy to do science fiction and comedy, but when you do it right, like that movie, and also the cast is incredible. I mean, first of all, anytime you have J.K. Simmons in anything, and the more unhinged, the better. Because like, and I've always liked Andy Samberg for a long time, since the early Lonely Island days and the digital shorts, and like to see him come as far as he has too.
I mean, I just went through and rewatched all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like while I'm editing stuff, that's the thing that's kind of playing in the background. And I'll stop and laugh. Yeah. Like I enjoy that show so much.
Me too. I understand why it's ending now, though.
Yes.
I know that. I understand why the new season's gonna be the last one. It makes sense. I think with the conversation around police in this country, it's just like, I don't know that I would have felt comfortable watching it. I think rewatching older stuff, but like them trying to approach what's going on now, there's just like, who wants that pressure? It just makes sense to kind of wrap up that story. Plus, like, that whole story was about Amy and
Jake
and Peralta, Jake, and like they're having a baby. It's coming to an end. Like, that story, I think, can end. It makes sense for it to end in this upcoming season whenever it airs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you ever watch The Good Place?
I did.
Mike Schur?
I loved that show too.
One of my favorite shows of all time. I'm very lucky to have had a previous guest, Jeff Rosenberg, who worked on, we broke up with a friend of mine, Laura Jackman. I had both of them on the show, and he worked on The Good Place when it was still on, and he had some set stories and talked about, it's one of those shows that I think is so unique that we will never get anything like it again. And it's sad that it's over, but I think it's the most perfect watch, those seasons.
Oh yeah. And I think it definitely like ran its not, I don't want to say ran its course, but it felt right at where it was ending. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want to go too far with that one. And every season was just so good in different ways. Like the way that they kept surprising us every time is just, I was all for it from the beginning. So
same. And like, even to this day, I'm hesitant to talk about spoilers, because it's just such a good show if you get to experience it without any knowledge.
Yes.
Like, that makes that show so good, and just solidifies what a treasure Ted Danson is, and that if I'm his age and could look half as good as he still looks, I will be a happy man.
No kidding, right? You know what the funny?
Still a fox.
Yeah, no kidding. One of the things that about that show is one of the things that I always find fascinating about myself, that I will start a new show, simply because of one actor or one creator or something like that. So that show, the only reason I watched it because Kristen Bell. Like I was a huge Kristen Bell fan from Veronica Mars. So
Same.
I will do that for, like you can sit there and look at the preview of a show and you be like, God, that doesn't look good, but I like that person, so I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
Do you have other like actors that you'll do that for?
So I do. Kristen Bell was definitely an influence in me wanting to watch that. And now if Jamelia Jamil does anything after this, I will watch her. She's so watchable.
So happy she's going to be on She-Hulk.
Oh my God, that's so great. She's so perfect. But like, I think, there are a few, I watch anything Hugh Jackman's in, TV or movies.
Yes.
Like, I'm just a Hugh Jackman fan. But I think currently, so one of my favorite watches during quarantine was Schitt's Creek. I don't know if you've watched it.
I have. I've watched the whole thing now.
I love it. I'm a big David Rose / Dan Levy fan. I adore him. Very handsome also, which helps. But the actress who plays his sister, Alexis, in it, has a new show that's coming out. And I have no idea what the show's about, but I saw her in the trailer, and I'm like, I'm going to watch this show because she's great.
I watched the first 2 episodes already. Like it was on this past Sunday. It's on AMC. And
how is it?
So it's definitely not what I thought it was. From what I understand, but I am intrigued. I am very intrigued. So I really want to know what it is where they're going to take the show. Kevin can F himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Is the name of the show, and the idea that it came from the actress who was originally in a Kevin James sitcom. Like that's what sold me, and I was like,
interesting.
Okay, I want to watch this, and it's not what I thought it was going to be, but I am definitely intrigued.
Interesting. I'll definitely have to check it out. But I'm struggling to think of. I've definitely watched shows because I knew Ted Danson was going to be on it. I've definitely watched shows because I knew Matthew Perry was going to be on it because I was a big Friends fan back in the day.
Did you watch Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
I haven't. My spouse loved it. I haven't gotten myself to watch it yet. I've heard good things though.
Yes, it's unfortunate they only got to 2 seasons, but like, yeah, I and that was a show that I picked up because of Jane Levy. Like, I was just like, she was in the remake of Evil Dead. Yeah, that was an incredible show, and like, I am not the best at music, but I do know pop music, and I know songs that I've heard before. So I'm like, okay, I'm into this.
That's awesome. Look at us. We started having this in-depth interview, and now we're just bullshitting about TV. It was only a matter of time. Right?
It was. It really was.
I'm curious. So I've been overwhelmed by superhero TV. I used to love the CW shows, and I bounced off. It became too much to keep up with all of them because I'm a completionist, right? So like I have to watch the canonical order of stuff since they all air in a certain order and stuff. How do you feel about the current run of comic book TV shows, because we have so many, and now Disney Plus has all of the Marvel stuff, which is technically comic book shows, but they're their own original stuff based on comic book characters. Like, how do you feel about this dearth of comic book shows? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it overwhelming?
Oh, it's definitely overwhelming because there's so much, and like televised heroics is hard to keep up with it all. I have definitely stepped off of a lot of them. Like, I have not watched The Walking Dead in like 3 seasons just because it's so much going on there, and so many different changes in story. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just like I was like, okay, I'm at a place where I feel I can get off. The CW shows, I love that as much as they steer away from the comic books in keeping close to the story that was originally out there, like
right.
They also come back to it. Like there's a lot of things in there that you get to see if you were a fan of those DC characters that it's like you never thought you were going to see on the screen.
Right.
Obviously the MCU Disney Plus shows are taking it to another level. Like these are 8-hour, 6-hour, 10-hour movies that we're getting to watch one hour a week, and you get to go through all the emotions. Like WandaVision messed me up. Like that show, of all the 3 that we've seen so far, like Loki is good, but WandaVision is the level for me to hit. Like if you're gonna do more of these shows, and then I love the fact that they've already in TV shows they're already getting to the area that comic books, it took a while for comic books to get to. Of now, everybody understands the established superhero tropes. We're gonna like mess with that now. We're gonna break it all down. That's when you get The Boys, you get Jupiter's Legacy, you get what's the other one that came out not too long ago? Invincible. Thank you. Yes, all that stuff is like now people are like, well, we know what Superman is. What happens if? And then you just go from there. And I love it. Like I love that everybody gets to experience comic book stuff that we've all been experiencing, or comic book readers have been getting to experience for a while.
And actually, that in answer to your previous question, Invincible, I totally tuned in for J.K. Simmons and Sandra Oh.
Yes.
I love both of them. And who plays their son, Mark?
From Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, and of course, neither of us
Stephen
remember
Yeun.
his name. Stephen Yeun,
which his movie this past couple months was great.
I still haven't seen it yet. Yeah. I gotta go see it.
I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of the movie now, but that was good too.
Yeah, but like that was a show, Invincible. I didn't know the big twist.
Neither did I.
I was able to stay away from it, and like I just knew the cast, and like even the additional voice cast, like Zachary Quinto and what's his name from The Good Place, who played Rex Splode? I can't. Jason
Mantzoukas. That's right.
Who I will also watch in anything. It doesn't matter what it is. He's always great.
He's so funny.
He's so funny. Maximum Derek forever.
Yes.
But that was a show that like the first episode, like my spouse was like, "Oh, I don't know," and then like we get to the twist, and she's like, "Do you want to watch another one?" Yes. Let's keep watching.
That's what I had to tell everybody that too. I was like, "Look, you're gonna watch the first episode. You're gonna be like, I don't get it. Like this is just a regular superhero thing. Get to that, after the credit scene, and you're gonna either love the show or hate the show, and that's why you should watch it."
Yeah, totally true. Mitch, this has been great. Can you believe it's been almost an hour already?
I mean, it went by quick, and I think that's just the way it feels when you get to talk to Matt.
Very sweet. Before we wrap up, I have one important question to ask you. I've incorporated this in recent episodes because I think reflecting on the shit show that was the past year is important. And like considering the pandemic and everything else that happened in 2020 beyond the pandemic, like that wasn't bad enough. I like to talk to people about good things that happened during that time, or any good things that they were able to find or discover during that time. During the pandemic, has there been any one thing that has happened that you were thankful to happen, or like that couldn't have happened without the pandemic, or just couldn't have or just by happenstance happened during that time? Something you look back on fondly?
I got to spend so much more time with Elizabeth, my fiance. Mm-hmm. As much as we both were working a lot, like we got to sit and just be with each other in the moments, when we weren't working or podcasting or anything else like that. We just got to enjoy each other. And I think most people get to do that in normal relationships, but for whatever reason, I've never got to experience that in a past relationship. So I really feel like we grew closer, if that's possible. Like we got engaged before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, we got to just know each other better. So that's what I'm most thankful for. Like that, and I did get to work on a lot more of my writing.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah. It's a testament to relationships when you can see a strength. Like, look, like any couple, my spouse and I want to kill each other sometimes. That's just how it goes, right? But like the reality is we fell more in love over the last 2 years of spending more time together. And I think that's really special when you can recognize that. And I'm so glad to hear that happened for you and Elizabeth. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good things can happen during shitty times.
Yes.
Take that, 2020.
Take that, 2020. I love it.
Before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you to please tell everyone listening where they can find you on the internet, where they can find Geek Elite, and anything else you want to point them to check out.
So because branding is so important, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Mitchipedia, GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. If you want to follow Geek Elite Media on the big three, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, it's all Geek Elite Media. You can also go to our Twitch. You can go to our Patreon, just Geek Elite Media on all fronts. We really do try and, make it so that there is a way for anybody to just jump in and feel included. Like that's the biggest thing on the social medias for us, is that everybody's idea is valid, unless you're hurting others, because we don't want that. But
no,
you're there. We're ready to talk. We're ready to be a community. Like, I'm not going to sit there and like just straight up get in an argument with you. It's there to make you feel like you're being heard. So that's what we try and do with our social media. But we hope that you stick around and listen to some of our podcasts too.
Yes, please do. You can find all of their podcasts in one convenient feed, which is you can find access to that on their website and on their Twitter, on their link tree, and there'll be links in the show notes for all of this stuff. I can't link in each individual podcast because then that would just take forever. But
he would be there forever.
But I will point you in the right direction. Just check the show notes after you're done listening. My last thing that I will ask you to do is, we have a saying on the show. You've listened before, so you might recall. But it is, music is life and life is good. It's this idea that as long as you're creating as a creative person, even in the worst of times, it's not that bad because you have something to pour your passion into. So if you can sign us off with that phrase, we will wrap it up.
Music is life and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.nat.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
Nostalgia is one of the strongest forces in the human psyche and is responsible for the continued existence of some of our favorite fandoms. From the minds behind the Dole Up in Dreams podcast and Isolation Cast Voices from Quarantine, Saturday Morning Confidential takes you on a deep dive into the properties that helped influence the artists and creators of today. So whether you are a Goonie, a Gem Girl, a Digi-Destined, or you just want to return to Oz, new episodes release on Fridays bi-weekly starting January 1st of 2021, and join us on the Wednesdays after the main show for the Serial Killer Radio Hour, where we sit down with the people responsible for the toys, shows, and fandoms that you love. Now you can find Saturday Morning Confidential at certainpov.com/SMCpod or on your favorite podcast platforms. So don't forget to tune in for another deep dive into the files of Saturday Morning Confidential.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.